In this tape recording with a quotation from our Bible, and I quote, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him, and he with me." Now that's the 3rd chapter of Revelation, the 20th verse. Oh, I have spoken and I've written so much about full open consciousness, and this is truly our necessity, every one of us. What is the I that is here? Is it not the very consciousness that we are? That we already are the God consciousness that we are, already insisting upon revealing itself? And is it not because this consciousness is already here, and the only consciousness that can be conscious as our being at all, is it not because this consciousness is already here, that instantly it is full open, revelation is here, illumination is here, revelation and illumination are experienced right here and right now. Only that which is here can possibly be experienced in the life, the very living of each and every one of us. Now, I wonder sometimes if many of us realize the great importance of our understanding of the word immutable. Do you know that the very word change is not a good word? In fact, it's a good word to avoid. And if we will follow through with this thing of insisting upon the changeless being that we are, we'll find ourselves having fewer seeming problems. In 1957, I believe it was, I published a booklet titled Your Eternal Identity. There's 3 sections of this booklet, and the first, of course, is without beginning. The second one is without change, and the third one is without ending. Now, it might be well, following this tape recording, if you have a copy of Your Eternal Identity, for you to just read it over again. Particularly that second section titled Without Change. You might find it quite surprising. You might find many things revealing themselves in that chapter that you had not quite seen before. Of course, this happens all the while. But anyway, the title of this particular section of our recording is Immutability. Now, as we've stated so many times before, there is nothing, not anything at all, that can change God, who is absolute, eternal, constant perfection. That which is entitled or called human vision cannot change or lessen the absolute perfection that is all substance, all form, and all activity. Now, it is those of us who imagine that we are born beings who seem to see, to hear, and to experience imperfection. This is a paradox, because all the while it seems that we are seeing, hearing, and experiencing falsely, we really are hearing, we are seeing, and we are experiencing absolute perfection. There simply is no imperfection for us to know anything about it at all. If there could be, God could not be all and certain it is that all would not be God. It is only that we appear to see, to hear, and to experience the perfect substance imperfectly. It's our imperfect awareness, our apparent awareness of this that seems to get in our way. But this perfect substance remains unchanged despite our seeming imperfect seeing, our seeming imperfect hearing, and even our seeming imperfect experiencing of this absolute perfection that is always here and all that is here. Of course, it is all a matter of consciousness, and consciousness, being absolute perfection, can never be aware of seeing, of hearing, or of being imperfect. Thus, even our apparent seeing, you understand, not our genuine seeing, which is the only seeing we know anything about, but even our apparent seeing can't change, can't alter, or diminish the absolute perfection, which is all substance, all form, all activity. Now, so long as we seem to see bodies, objects, trees, and so forth as imperfect, we are not seeing as perfect vision. Actually, beloved, we are not seeing anything at all. This is true. So long as we seem to see substance in form as ugly, distorted, and so forth, we are not seeing as perfect vision. So long as we seem to see abnormality, decrepitude, and the like, we are seeing imperfectly. So long as we seem to see newborn babies even, we are not seeing the genuine substance and form that really is right before us. In order to actually see the body of anyone or anything, we must see it at the very height of completeness and absolute perfection. If the body of one called a baby had to grow, had to mature, and then decline or deteriorate, then we would have to change. Well, then, would not God have to change? Would not God have to be a changing God? But God, being the principle, immutability itself, simply does not become a born baby or a born baby body, then a child's body, then a mature body, and then finally, regretfully, an old body. In illumination, I have never seen a baby. I never have seen a baby. Oh, I've seen those that were called babies, but I never see them as a baby. No, nor have I seen an aging or an old identity. I never saw a baby body, nor never have I seen an old or aging body in illumination, not one time. Neither have I seen a distorted or ugly body. Now, I'm now speaking of the body of the tree, the rose, or of any substance in form, just the same as I'm speaking of the body of man. So long as we seem to see bodies that are solid matter, the way we see them, or appear to, we are seeing imperfectly. It's futile to try to change substance, form, and activity. We certainly can't improve that which is absolutely perfect, completely perfect already. Do you know that every attempt we make to improve the body, by diet, by exercise, by drugs, etc., only seems to add to our imperfect seeing, or to our misconception in which we have an imperfect vision, it seems, of things as they are. There's a never imperfect being. There'd have to be, imperfection would have to be a principle itself. It would have to exist. Do you know that God would have to exist as the principle called imperfection? If we were to see or to have or to be an imperfect body, or if there was one single imperfect body of a tree, of a flower, of anything or anyone, why, God would have to be. He'd have to know imperfection, and God would have to be imperfection. So, there only seems to be imperfect seeing or perception. You know, beloved, one day all of us are going to see the futility of trying to make the body more perfect. And we will really see, will perceive, and experience being the eternal, constant, immutable body that we genuinely are, that we've always been, and that we're always going to be. Throughout the ages, men have been trying to improve a supposedly imperfect body. Even our friends, the Buddhistic yogis, have their breathing exercises, their bodily postures, and so forth. It's true that some of them are more interested in attaining illumination and thus nirvana. But there are some who feel that these exercises and postures are of greater importance in building a better body. Jesus said, and I quote, "According to your belief shall it be unto you." End of quote. And because they believe, these Buddhist friends of ours, because they believe in these exercises, often to them there does seem to be bodily improvement. It's all according to our belief. But sooner or later, these supposed better bodies are going to seem to run down, to become aged, to become decrepit. Why is this true? Because the kind of body they are trying to improve simply does not exist. That's all. It just does not exist. There really is one body and one kind of body. Now the word mankind simply means a kind of man who begins to be alive, who begins to be conscious, who begins to be intelligent at birth, and then becomes unalive, unconscious, unintelligent at death. But what kind of man is this? Why, that kind of man doesn't exist. The only man who does exist is the Christ man, and the only body that does exist is the forever constant changeless Christ body, or body of the Christ. The physicists claim that all substance remains the same substance, but that the forms constantly change in which this substance appears. Now, not all of them claim that now, you know, but I would say by far the greater majority do. For instance, they will say that the tree falls to the earth and the substance of the tree deteriorates and becomes dust and so forth. Thus the substance of the tree is supposed to reappear in an entirely different form. Now, in a somewhat similar way, some branches of the Buddhist faith believe that man may begin as an insect, a turtle, a serpent, or substance in what they call some lesser form, and finally change into the form called man. This is a misconception of the body of man. The form, the substance, and the activity of this body never has and never will change. And furthermore, it will never be any more or any less. Why is this true? Why, the form of every atom remains that form and no other. The form of every nucleus remains that form. It simply cannot change. What is the atom? What is all the substance in form? God. God. Isn't that all? Of course. What is the substance in form called the body? God. And God does not change. Thus the substance, the form, and activity called this body is forever, eternally, constantly immutable. Now, in order to present this basic truth as succinctly as possible, let us say it in this way. Everything and everyone that we can possibly view or see is constantly, changelessly perfect, because perfection is all there is to see, perfection is all there is to hear, perfection is all there is to be. But we, because we imagine ourselves to be temporary, ever-changing, born man, seem to believe in and to see our own fallacious picturization of our expectations. In short, we see what we believe, and then we turn right around and we believe what we see. Now, in our class held in Vista in 1966, we perceived the fact that the ever-surging, circling universal substance is manifested in and as countless forms and activities. We also perceived that the form of any substance is also circling at that particular tempo. The form cannot change because the rhythmic tempo that is that form cannot change. The rhythmic tempo of any activity remains the same rhythmic tempo constantly and eternally, and it is absolute perfection in action, being substance, being activity and form. Now, what are we to realize in order that the eternal, immutable perfection that is be evident as all there is that we can see, all that we hear, and above all that we experience? First of all, we are to know just what vision is. Believe me, beloved one, vision is an exceedingly important aspect, perhaps the most important aspect of our seeing when it comes to seeing things as they are. You see, it is a false sense of seeing that makes it appear that everything is just simply all wrong and out of kilter. So first of all, we have to know just what vision is, just what hearing is, and then what changeless, perfect, eternal being is. Now we're going to know that there's one vision, and then we're going to know that there's one who sees, and this perfect seeing is perfect vision being. I'm going to say that again. Perfect seeing is perfect vision being. Perfect seeing is perfection, seeing perfectly. It's conscious perfection, aware of being the perfection that it sees. It is constant perfection, aware of seeing that which it bees. Yes, it is constant perfection, being perfect vision. And beloved, you are that. We completely disregard so-called born eyes. Oh, what could they see? If there were such, what could they see? Why, if vision had to do with something called born eyes, I would not be seeing at all. Many of us wouldn't. No, we are unconcerned whatever these so-called born eyes may seem to see, or as to how they seem to see. Rather, we just maintain our awareness of being eternal, constant, perfect vision itself in all of its perfection, immutability, and eternality. I recall that in one of the classes I gave in Vista, I made the statement, well, what in the world is the use to have 20/20 vision if we do not see things as they are? And I still feel that same way. Oh, beloved one, the seeing, that is that which is seen, and the being are all one and the same. And you are that. Never can you see anything outside of or other than the infinite consciousness that you are. And you are this being everywhere. Oh, you are that which you see right now. I would like to refer you to the chapter of the Ultimate entitled Seeing is Being. Now much more is going to be revealed through the study and the contemplation of this specific chapter. Incidentally, I really do feel, and I've had the proof that this is right, that this chapter titled Seeing is Being in the textbook of our approach titled The Ultimate, that this chapter, Seeing is Being, is the most powerful, the highest chapter in the entire book. Now let us simply and without effort refuse to believe, to acknowledge or accept any appearance of change or of imperfection. Let us always be aware of the fact that whatever we are viewing, whatever we are seeing, is the absolute perfection that we are. And it is this perfection, being, substance, form, and activity that we are seeing. Let us also perceive the fact that the only vision that sees anything at all is the perfect vision that we are, seeing only the perfection that we are. It is perfection aware of seeing and being the everlasting, perfectly changeless self. And we are that self. What other self is there for us to be? Now, if we seem to see imperfection, our apparently imperfect seeing would have to be imperfect being, or imperfection being. Now, this is true, you see, because seeing is being. The substance and form that we see consists of the consciousness that we are being. Actually, it is the consciousness that we are aware of being. It truly is the consciousness that we are aware of being. If, therefore, we seem to see imperfection, then we would only appear to be seeing or perceiving, thus being our own substance and activity. Now, who wants to see our own substance, our own activity as imperfection? Well, if we don't, then we better not see any substance or any activity as imperfect, for what we see, that we be. Thus, if this could be true, then we would have to be aware of being imperfect or of being imperfection just the same. As if God were aware of imperfection, God, the only consciousness, would have to be aware of being imperfect. This is true because seeing is being, but since we only seem to see imperfection, what we appear to see is only a seeming. We would only seem to be seeing, thus we would only seem to be being our own perfect substance as though it were imperfect substance, imperfect form and activity. Yet it's all a seeming, nothing else, just a seeming. Therefore, it may appear to be seeing change, it may appear to be seeing imperfection, but we are not really seeing anything at all, if this is the case. It is all only an appearance, and an appearance is not the substance and form and activity that really is the something, capital S, that really is right before us. But truly we never really see change or imperfection, for the only vision that exists which can see anything at all, is the immutable perfection that is. You see, the vision itself being absolute perfection. I cannot see anything that is imperfect, because it only sees its own immutable perfect substance, form, and activity. This is absolute vision. I'm going to say that again. This is absolute vision. This is vision being absolute, every whit whole, complete. Of course, the same truth that has just been revealed pertaining to vision is also true of hearing. Actually, hearing and seeing are identical. There's no difference whatsoever in hearing and seeing. Both hearing and seeing are the same consciousness, simply perceiving. But that which the so-called born ear of assumptive man hears, such as words of troubles, of problems, and so forth, are only words expressed in noises or sound produced by fallacious born man. Any words of criticism or condemnation are the same thing, just sounds, just noises, expressed in something that we call words. Really, we come to a point where any words that pertain to assumptive born man, or his human ambition, his self-glorification, and so forth, mean no more to us than wood pebbles falling upon a tin pan. Any sounds of imperfection, supposedly emanating from this non-man, we simply do not hear. We don't believe them. We don't accept them, that's all. This so-called born man is neither good nor bad. How can he be? He doesn't exist to be anything. He simply is nothing, because there is no birth, thus there is and cannot possibly be such a thing as a born man. Now the title of the next section of our activity here is Faith is the substance of things apparently not seen. What happens when a healing takes place? or what they call a healing. Well, that which to supposedly born man seems invisible, unknowable, is perceived to be visible and knowable right here and now. That which appears to this suppositional man to be invisible and inexperienceable is seen and is experienced. Earlier, during our class experience that this is presenting, we announced that we might even perceive how it is that this apparently invisible body could be and would be visible. Now we've gone into this in a former tape recording. Now we have arrived at this point. What is the meaning of faith is the substance? It means that faith is substance. It means that the mind, the intelligence, that has or is absolute faith in the fact that the substance in form which appears to be invisible really is the only substance. This is the power. And it is this ever-living conscious mind that is the very substance and form which has been considered to be invisible. Oh, beloved one, we are going to have to come to the point where we no longer believe this fallacious thing that says that the substance in form right here is invisible. It is not invisible. But we've gone into this on a previous tape, and we are going farther into it now. You know, our Bible states there is nothing hidden that shall not be revealed. This is a tremendous statement of truth. It has far greater significance than we have previously realized. This statement proclaims the passing of the age-old illusion that the eternal living body must forever remain invisible. Not so, beloved, not so. If it were true, we could never be through with the tragic illusion that death is inevitable. Thus, the premise in our Bible of eternal life, and we do have the promise of eternal life in our Bible, this promise would not be fulfilled if we never came to the place where we realize that death is not only unnecessary, death is a hoax. It's a bitter, tragic hoax. If we continue to accept this illusion that the perfect eternal body must forever remain invisible, we're surely going to continue to seem to die. But let's stop it. Let's stop it. We're ready to. And so long as we continue to imagine that substance in form is seen by supposedly born eyes, we are not really going to see the substance that really is right here, right now. Let us stop this thing of accepting and believing that the substance and form before us can only be seen through something that they call born eyes. It is not true, beloved. It's a hideous, horrible lie, I assure you. But the instant we see, the instant we know and experience being the living, eternal, conscious substance that is, we do see, we do know, and we do experience being this substance. Oh yes, indeed we do. Thus the conscious living mind that is absolute faith in the seemingly invisible substance really is this substance in form itself. This I am is the living mind that is this very substance, this form, this activity, that has appeared to be invisible. Thus, the mind that is complete faith, and mind truly is, capital M, is complete faith in being the apparently unseen substance. Body really is the substance in which it has faith. So, when a so-called bodily healing takes place, what activity is going on? Beloved, the eternal perfect mind that is all absolute faith, or self-knowledge. That's what faith is, you know, self-knowledge. Now I'm going to say this again. The eternal perfect mind that is all absolute faith, or self-knowledge, is seen, is known, and is experienced. Yes, it is experienced as the only bodily substance in existence. Thus, the apparently invisible substance is actually visible. Furthermore, the seemingly unknown eternal perfect body is experienced as a visible body, and they call it a healing. No wonder the Bible says, quotes God as saying, I have no pleasure in the death of him that dieth. And again, death is swallowed up in victory. Oh yes. Yes, when a supposed healing of something such as a goiter, a swollen or inflamed area or something like that takes place, it is evident that so-called healing has revealed visible perfection right where imperfections seem to be visible. In short, the perfection that seemed to be invisible is visible. It is seen right here as the substance of the one who apparently had been healed, and the apparent imperfection which had seemed to be visible is perceived to be invisible. You see, when visible perfection is perceived, the seeming imperfection is perceived to be actually invisible. It can't be seen. How can it be? It isn't anywhere. It is not seen as the substance of the one who has apparently been healed. This, beloved, is something of tremendous significance. It will bear much study. It will bear much contemplation. Consider it. Contemplate it. Now you may wonder why the entire body of the one who is apparently healed is not revealed as the complete perfection that it is. Well, there is an answer to this. No one expects it. No one expects the whole body to be revealed as being completely perfect, because one, you might say, aspect of the body is what they call healed and shows itself to be perfect, reveals itself. No one expects it to be, no one believes it to be even possible, yet it is possible. I've seen it happen. Oh, I've seen it take place many times. At any rate, this so-called healing is an indication of the entire eternal perfect body. You see, the so-called healing itself indicates that the whole body is perfect, and that the whole body can be seen and experienced as the perfection that it is. If one tiny little segment of the body can be what they call healed and perfection revealed, the perfection that is the body revealed, how come then? Why cannot the whole body, all that is the body, the perfection that is the body, be revealed and be visible and be experienced? It really is visible. And it is visible the very moment that we perceive it to be the only body that is, that ever was, or that will ever be. You see, We appear to have just become bogged down and so enmeshed in the illusion of a temporary changing body that we don't even seem to see the body that is. Why is this true? Well, beloved, it's true because throughout the ages we've been brainwashed. Throughout the ages this false opinion has been handed down as fact, and the only fact. And we seem to have been saddled with it. But it simply isn't true, no matter how long they believed it. I don't care how long a lie is believed. You can't make that lie be true by merely believing in it. Now, we are at the point of the great discovery, which is that which has always been believed to be a visible born body is not, never was the body at all. And that body which we have believed to be invisible really is, and has always been, and will ever be, the only body. As we have stated again and again, there are not two bodies. There is only one body that you can have. There is only one body that you can possibly be. Now you see, the mistake has been that we have erroneously believed that spirit, soul, life, mind inhabit a born body. But because spirit has seemed to be invisible, this eternal substance could never be seen. Yet, whenever a supposed healing of something imperfect is seen, we have seen the proof. We've seen the evidence right there of the visible perfection, right where it had seemed to be invisible. You see, right before, a second before, even. The perfection had seemed to be invisible, and so I've seen a face that seemed to be in terrible shape for just the little moment of seeing it that way, with what they call erysipelas. And in less than a moment, the perfection that was that face was completely apparent. Completely apparent. So, there it is. What is the visible perfection that is? Beloved, it's God. It's spirit, it's consciousness, it's life, it's mind, it's love, it's all that God is. And so, eternal, perfect, conscious, living, loving mind, intelligence, is truly visible. It can be seen. And right now, I must tell you that it is being seen daily by more and more and more of us every day. So, we can be assured that this same truth is true as the only activity that goes on in and as the bodily activity. Of course, it may seem that perfect activity is absent. It may appear that the activity that is present is imperfect activity, but the visible manifestation of perfect activity may be seen and experienced at any moment. Oh, indeed so. I've seen it happen, so have you. Hence, we now have perceived perfect substance, perfect form, and now we are aware of perfect activity, which is eternal, constant, and eternally, constantly active. Now, I'm not speaking merely of the body that you are, or that I am. I'm speaking also of the body of the bird, the body of the butterfly, the leaf, a drop of water, the body of everyone and everything. We simply have to perceive that all substance that seems to be invisible
I hope you enjoy this spiritual audio. Like, share and subscribe for more.